Back when I was a kid, I was fascinated with ghost towns, the way their dilapidated buildings were kind of falling back down to the earth, the same place that they had risen. Remnants of kind of the lives that people lived in those places and those spaces. I very connected to space and place. And ghost towns were always a little, I don't know how to put it, they had a little place in my mind because of that. What I didn't think about until I came to Silverton here was why some towns live on while others, like the ghost towns, pass on. But I think the story of Silverton and its late sister, Animas Forks, actually helps explain why I have some fears and lots of thoughts about the future of the Apple Vision Pro.
Like Widgetsmith is the app that I launched on day one there, and I would say it is not done well. And it's hard to know the degree to which that is because Widgetsmith isn't a great fit for the platform, or because the platform itself is struggling. Like, you know what I mean? Like those two things are completely inextricably linked. And I think it's probably helpful here. I'm just going to share a couple of the sort of just the raw numbers around Widgetsmith over the first 2 months of this platform. On Vision Pro in the first 2 months, Widgetsmith had about 13,000 total downloads. And the vast majority of those happened in the first essentially week of the platform. Since then, it's dropped off dramatically. At this point, it has something in the range of about 70 new downloads a day. In the scope and scale of iOS, it's really tough. Like, I struggle with that because those numbers just are really hard. And I made it a bit more concrete for myself at some point because I was like, okay, so if say I took full-time yearly hours, so you take 52 weeks times 40 hours a week, like that's full-time. It's, 2,080 hours in a year. If I were to distribute my time between iOS and visionOS based purely on the number of daily active users, how much should I spend between the two? And when I do this number, so 2,080 hours in a year, I should spend 8.5 minutes on visionOS.
Ooh,
in the entire year.
That's not great.
It's not
that
great,
hurts,
right?
That hurts.
Yeah.
So let me tell you the story of Silverton and Animas Forks. In 1860, there were prospectors that came through this town, and they found some what's called placer gold, probably in the river, and thought that, hey, this might be a good place to settle and start checking things out, see if they could mine anything. And so in 1874-ish, they founded this town, and not too long after, they found some silver, hence Silverton. Around the same time, Animas Forks way up on the hill over there. In fact, I tried to get there this morning and it was difficult in my car, so I didn't. That's why this video is not being filmed there. They set up town as well. They had their first log cabin. And by 76, 3 years after that, they had started a little mining community with little log cabins. And then back in Silverton by 82, 10 or so years after that, there was some gold discovered in that mine called Sunnyside. And that mine and that discovery of gold changed the trajectory of this town until this very day. But, as Animas Forks began bustling there too, and also finding some gold, things eventually started to dwindle for them in a way that it didn't here in Silverton. And so by 1910, effectively, Animas Forks was doomed to become a ghost town. It had picked their vein dry, and that community left because there was nothing left there to support them economically. Meanwhile here, Sunnyside Mine ended up keep on going. It kept on producing, and the people kept on coming, and as you can see, a town flourished around it. And so I think that this story explains, it gives us a framework to think through how products get developed in the same way that towns do. Here's how it works in a mining town. A prospector finds placer gold. They found a town based off of the vision and belief that it has the ability to be prosperous on the ore they find in the ground alone. Then the town infrastructure starts to build, and then the ore itself is truly discovered, and then the industry grows beyond the original. I think product development is very similar. Instead of a prospector finding placer gold, businesses design and ideate a product that they want out in the world. They're looking for little glimmers of hope within the ideas that they present. Instead of founding a town after that, businesses launch a product. The people who found towns hope that their towns will find the right people to come to them, and will have the right workers to contribute to the economy, and will have the right culture to make it work. Companies hope that the right people find their product and that they enjoy it and like it and are the right people to live with their product, the same way that towns want the right people to live in their place. Instead of building up town infrastructure, computers build operating systems, right? They make their own apps. And then instead of discovering ore, computers in particular find a killer app. And beyond that, for towns, when they find the industry that goes beyond it, the hope is that the thing beyond the original gold that you struck in the ground will give you the opportunity. For a town like this, for any mining town, gold was the killer app. But killer apps aren't enough, because you need to reach that final stage. For a town, it means that your industry grows beyond your original purpose, which is just digging for the right looking metal in the ground. For a computer, that means growing an ecosystem that goes beyond the original set of structures that you build on your own. The real longevity for a town comes in diversifying and in finding something that you can trust on dependably. For Silverton, that was gold for a long time. And then when gold started to dwindle, it became tourism. For computers, that is the killer app. And when the killer app exhausts its market, that becomes a lot of times something like an app store, or again, an app platform or ecosystem. I think that for the Apple Vision Pro, the thoughts I have about the app ecosystem are best represented by the step that precedes that piece of sustainability, which is striking gold. So Silverton's success gets them all the way through many, many years of mining. It brings their town prosperity and success. And Sunnyside and its mine becomes one of the most prosperous and long-running mines in the entirety of Colorado. Gets Silverton through the Panic of 1893, and all the way basically until the Great Depression in 1929, when the Sunnyside mine finally closed. Lucky for Silverton, they had another industry brewing, which was in the 30s, the tourism of the Old West picked up. That's why it looks like you're down in an old Western movie set when you visit Silverton, because it's frozen in amber in its new industry, which is tourism. You see, Silverton has reached a new era in its economy. The days of mining being the thing that brought the town its success are over. And now tourism has brought them success, hopefully for the long term. You see, with sustainability, a lot of times, early luck is really crucial to make it to the point where you can be sustainable. But it can only last so long. When it comes to products, the core decisions you make about design, market, app ecosystem, application models, they don't pay off until later. But in order to get to later, you need to strike a vein of gold large enough to get you there now. Long ago, the Mac did this with desktop publishing. Through the 90s, that vein of gold slowly depleted with Jobs away. But upon Jobs' return, and with the launch of the iMac, the Mac reached its final form in the same way that Silverton has. My concern is that the Apple Vision Pro will not. With the Apple Vision Pro, Tim Cook has prospected. He has founded his town on a few flecks of gold that he's seen in the stream. Buildings are coming up. People are stopping by. But he hasn't hit a vein yet. And my concern is that Cook, in his previous product launches, in his previous prospecting, never really did. He's never had a successful app ecosystem that he built. If he doesn't strike gold, my concern is that Apple Vision Pro's App Store might just become a ghost town. In closing, this shrine here was built during the darkest days of Silverton's mining industry, the 1950s. I think this was put up in 1959 based off of an idea of a priest who wanted to dedicate a shrine to who he believed brought this town prosperity. This here, Christ of the Mines, says on its plaque, I'll read it to you, by the people of Silverton to ask God's blessing on the mining industry of the San Juans. And depending on your belief system, this may speak to you. And I hope based off of this story, it does at least to a little bit. You see, the core decisions that Apple has made in launching the Apple Vision Pro will determine its success. Not just the product decisions it's made, but the application model and its economic model. And what I learned here in Silverton was that early gold you strike is great, but it doesn't mean it's going to live forever.